Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the majestic Montreal to Circuit Gilles Villeneuve on the island Notre Dame. Here on Speedcafe TV for round 7 of the Speedcafe eSeries Championship. We are going to be in for a mega night of racing on a racetrack that is full of excitement. You've got 3 chicanes, a couple of long straights, a big hairpin, a few sweeping corners in there as well, and 22 very eager drivers racing their way towards $400 in super cheap auto vouchers to the top 3. And new prize for tonight, for the best and fairest, we deem at the end of the night, a Freem set of Freem racewear sim gloves as well. To whoever keeps their nose clean tonight and does a good job. Here's the championship standings. Or practice results, I should say. We'll roll through that. My name's Ryan Jones, Scott Rankin alongside me, and Peter Davison as well. Scott, results from practice. It's David Woods all the way.
Yeah, I mean, back to business as usual, right? This is what we've seen over the last couple of rounds, and I mean, in particular, he's just put a phenomenal front foot down. He's really working the new Porsche, all the elements that's coming into his favor. And look, I mean, the Porsche's strong. Is it the best car for Montreal? Well, the times say so.
Yeah, we'll find out and see how it races. It's going to be an interesting one, and I'm certainly going to be rooting for anyone who's not in a Porsche. There's a few of them out there. There's a couple of Lamborghinis, BMWs, Ferraris, a few different manufacturers to throw in the mix there, but certainly the new Porsche 992 has been the favourable option as we move into the latter half of this series. So, Peter, a little change to our qualifying format for tonight. Normally it's 3 groups based off practice times. We're dropping that back to 2 for tonight, so it'll be a split qualifying, about 11 cars in each.
Yes, good evening, everybody. G'day, boys. Just with the numbers we've got tonight, we're going to be running 2, so it'll be split 50-50. We're just getting ready now. We're about a minute away for the start of the first session. Nice to see the weather's turned up. Beautiful sunny day, 23 degrees. Formula One's gone, the rain's gone. Time for some GT3s to get out there. We've got Porsche from the current times they've had tonight. Porsche 1, Porsche 2, Lachlan Capel, Porsche 3, Matthew Dench, Porsche 4, Aaron Cooper, Porsche 5, Adam Willison, and your favourite so far, Sebastian Flock in number 6 in the first of a different manufacturer with the BMW, Rob Carmichael in 7 and a Ferrari, and we've got Jordan Padgett in 8 with a Porsche. We've got Sebastian Varndell in a Lamborghini, rounding out the top 10. It's Thomas Hinz in a Mercedes.
And the fastest qualifier in each group as well, going to earn themselves $10 in iRacing credits. It should be a nice little boost, get you a new track next season, or this season, if you haven't already got them all. Or the Porsche, yeah. Let's not encourage any more Porsches. Oh, man.
We've had a change to the Porsche, haven't we? A little bit of a detune.
Yeah, so I believe that was actually a torque reduction on the Porsche. So a little bit of a conversation back and forth about what the strongest aspects of the Porsche. Now, if we're actually looking in terms of the iRacing bops and the way that it was looked at last weekend for Watkins Glen, they threw, I think it was 15 kilos at it and a 1% power reduction. The issues that people were finding was it was just so good in the traction zones. The mid-corner, it was just able to get the car turned quite nice and early, which is why we saw it come out so strong last time out at Catalunya. But this time they've gone with a torque reduction. So why would they do either way? Now torque reduction, really good. They can hide it a little bit. You know, they can sort of hand wave and go, yeah, it was too strong in these sort of areas, and not really give us any numbers to it. The real reason I think they're actually going with a torque reduction is that they've then got more bits and pieces to tune. If it's still a little bit overtuned, and there's a special event, there's something coming up, iRacing can just go, yep, we'll just chuck 0.5% out of the power, we'll chuck 1% out of the power, we'll throw 5 or 10 kilos at it. So it's about getting the numbers right and having the ability to tinker with the cars over the long term. Is the Porsche in a great spot? Yes, I still think it's in a great spot. I think the times on the board will absolutely demonstrate that. But it is now a lot less Porsche Cup action, so we say.
There are still 4 Porsches I counted lined up in our bottom 11. So it's not a guaranteed ticket to the top of the time sheets. You've still got to put it together. You've still got to have the wits about you to put together a super clean lap around a track that is extremely tricky, Peter. Big curbs, very punishing off tracks, and slowdowns will be a big talking point in the race as well. but this is not an easy place to put a lap together.
Well, we're talking about torque curve being minimised a fraction for the Porsche. There's just before those big long straights, there's a couple of really slow turns that you need to get some good drive out. There's going to be some slipstreaming into 12, 13, into the wall of champions. You know, that's going to be a risk tonight, and especially when we see these guys that are trying to run down the Porsches, that's where it's going to happen. Coming out of 2, you're going to want to drive out of there fast, out of 6 and 7 down the back straight, and then out of 9 as well as you roll into the hairpin. So also these guys, that little bit of torque, they use that to rotate these cars on the tight turns. There's big curbs, tight turns, long straights, so it's going to be anyone's race.
We might be seeing a little bit of slipstreaming in effect in qualifying here as well. Scott might pick you up a couple of tenths down the straights, but you've got to make sure you time it right. You don't want to get too close and get held up into the braking zones or even through the corners. But if you can sit yourself at about, what are we saying, 3/4 of a second back, you're going to pick up a very handy tow. And if that car in front of you is about the same pace as you, you'll hang on to it for the entire lap and put yourself right to the top.
Well, there's another sort of element to that, and it's dirty air. I mean, the dirty air is excessive. It really, really is. The overheating of the front end of these cars, obviously we're going to go through a heat cycle now. Again, you know, what we've seen so far is this is just to bring the tyres into temperature, bring them into the ranges, make them work on this lap. Next lap, you're sort of 90% of the way there. You're not quite there, and then lap 3 is where all the pace comes from. So that's what you'll be expecting here. Do I think slipstream is going to be the way to go? I would want free air. I just don't want to be looking at another car. I want the track for myself. I want to settle myself in. And the other benefit is, should somebody make a mistake with how close the walls are, it potentially can end your qualifying run as well. So that's another reason to sort of stay away from someone.
Well, I'm slow, so I want that guy in front of me. it can often find you a tenth or two. So on the road courses. Zach Rattray White, someone who didn't set a time in practice. I'm expecting him to be up the order. Might be on for fastest in this group. Peter Rattray White's had a bit of an up and down season, hasn't he?
Well, you guys talk a lot about Zach. I'm new to the GT3s and new to some of these drivers, but there's obviously something there because you both got a lot of faith in him. He has had a little bit of an up and down race. He is currently sitting, if I look at...
I think he snuck his way to the top 10, actually.
Well, he dropped 5 spots last race, so he's back down to 100 points in position 15. But he's certainly been going well. I guess consistency at the end hasn't been there, but he's certainly got... You guys have both got his number.
Well, he was 3rd fastest in pre-qualifying, so he's certainly got the pace around here.
And I mean, he is in a Mercedes, so I mean, there's points if you're a V8 fan. So I mean, you know, the other end of the scale, he's actually a really lovely personality. I've managed to interview him, chat to him a number of times. He's actually just a lovely guy. Really easy to talk to, always willing to chip in, help out other people. You know, setups, braking markers. You know, he's just generically good to be around. And well,
he's just popped the top of the times with a 1:34.6, which is pretty well matched what his pre-qual was with a 1:34.663. So his first lap's pretty good.
Fastest in practice, for reference, a 1:33.4 from Damon Wood. So just over a second off that. We just saw the real Marlon McMullen set his first time in qualifying as well. And Tyler Blackburn picking him up as he makes his way through turns 5 and 6. Really tricky to get that one right. You're trying to accelerate and still get it turned quite a bit on quarter exit there. I'd love some reduced torque trying to get that done, because your rear end really wants to step out through that corner.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be all about exceeding track limits. So we're going to see right here on the right-hand side, the old George Russell tyre mark on the wall. Who's going to leave one of those behind tonight? Hopefully no one.
Shane Newman does a good job to just step out of the way there for Tyler as he heads down towards the hairpin, gets it turned in maybe a little bit too early, clipped up some of the grass on the inside. Your exits, what's critical out of the hairpin, doesn't matter how good your entry is. If you don't get a good exit, you're going to lose near enough half a second by the time you get down to the braking zone for that final chicane as he scrapes the wall on the right-hand side as he tries to straight line that little kink as much as possible. And then the 2 big towering curbs on the inside of the final chicane, the Wall of Champions on the right. Blackburn keeps himself out of it for Analytical Race on Oz Esports. And what's the time going to be for the car? 9:47. It's his first time. The BMW pops up to P6.
Yeah, so good lap from him. One thing I did actually notice from him there as well was the fact that he actually had a crinkle in the front splitter. So he was certainly losing a fraction worth of downforce, a fraction worth of straight line speed. How much at the lap time? Not 100% sure, but we'll see. Yeah, Jason Bent's actually set a quite representative lap time there. That was actually quite a stonker from him, up to the 35.0. He's in second place at the moment, but he's still half a second back. I mean, come on, Bency. Look it up,
Bency with his Speed Cafe livery again, which is a great looking car. He's a good driver. He's good with setups, and he doesn't mind a bit of paint shop either in his spare time. You're just mentioning the Wall of Champions there. It's not just the Wall of Champions to worry about. It's the curbs of greatness going into it and coming out of it.
Oh, that was the moment you missed last time out, Ryan. Was Rob Carmichael did his best attempt to take off. Absolute best aeroplane impersonation.
Well, we had a couple of those over the sausage curbs 2 weeks ago in Spain.
Well, for fans of flying race cars, Montreal's the place for you, because high probability of that occurring tonight. As we watch Bates from above dipping through the trees. Good picturesque circuit, this place. And they really captured it on iRacing. That's the thing I do love about this circuit.
Well, I mean, that flyover really gives you the extent of it. I mean, this is a man-made island within Montreal. They were the dirt that was shoveled out to build the subway tunnels underneath Montreal was dumped here in the river, and they turned it into a man-made island. And hey, presto, what are we going to use that island for? Car racing.
McMullen pops himself up to P4 there. 1 minute 35, 2:43 for him. Just 3,000 shy of pipping Rob Bowden up the road. Bent's coming back to the line. This would be his fourth flying lap in this session. Life might have gone out of those tyres.
No, he's actually come through the pit lane for a fresh set.
You're right.
So this is his turn 1, turn 2 on his first flying lap after fresh rubber. Be interesting to see where Blackburn goes on this attempt. I'm pretty sure. No, this is the same thing.
He did the same thing, yeah.
Yeah, so this is him starting his second attempt as well.
A little curious that Blackburn out lap, one flying lap, and then back to pit lane. We'll be talking about it being lap 3, lap 4 sometimes previously. Only seeing a couple of drivers doing 2 flying laps before resetting, and even Zach Rattray-White, his fastest lap came on lap number 2. It is a 4.3 kilometre circuit, so you're putting some mileage on those tyres by the time you get around to a third flying lap. That could be part of the reason.
Putting in a banker, coming back out, putting in a banker, getting a bit of a feel for it, coming back in, getting some fresh rubber, cycling up again, and maybe get time for 2 more flying laps.
Yeah, I'd definitely be doubling down. Personal thing is, I'd rather be doubling down. I'd rather take it somewhat easy on that first lap, just to bring the tyres in, get that banker in, and then go on with it. I'm a little bit curious about that one, just because we've seen it actually from a number of drivers. So, I mean, we've seen it from Matt Dench just about every single qualifying attempt of the season, is that it's that third lap where he actually sets the time, and the first 2 are just about bringing the tyres into range without taking anything out of them, you know. Talked to him a number of times about what does it take to set a quick lap in this brand of car and this style of racing. You know, it's about getting the tyres into the optimum tyre temperature, tyre range, but not scrubbing away at that surface, not taking away any of the potential grip up there. So it's treating your tyres right. And, well, I think Matt Dench is the tyre whisperer, if we've got one here.
Jason Bentz and McMullen are playing leapfrog for P2 at the moment. McMullen popped up to P2, and then Jason Bentz crossed the line 10 seconds later and said, I will take that back. Thank you very much. Only a couple tenths, or less than a couple tenths, separating them on the time sheet at the moment. Watching Jamie McKnight for Synergy Sim Racing. That is an iconic livery. He's supporting.
The People's Champion's out, and he's on his flight. Well, he's on his out lap actually. So he'll be getting ready to get, as you're just talking, get some heat into those tyres. On that note, Zach Rattray-White's 1:34.5. He said earlier it's still holding its own. It's 4 tenths up on Jason Bentz and 5 tenths up on Marlon McMullen. When we were in Barcelona 2 weeks ago, talking of tyres, we saw out of the top 10 finishes, the majority of them took tyres except the race winner. And it really was noticeable when we came back out after that safety car lap that whoever kept whoever kept their tyres on had a small advantage. So let's see what happens here.
Sorry, apologies to cut you off, Pete, but there was a huge moment. Rattray White is trying to absolutely wrestle this thing around. Did he just miss the time by 0.02 of a second as well? I think he just ran a 5.52. He was sideways coming out of the last chicane and millimeters from the barriers. I don't know if we could get a replay of that one, but that was spectacular.
We're coming to the end of the first 15-minute qualifying session, so I guess these boys are starting to give it a crack, and he certainly is. He's using all the road.
He's consistent. Only 2,000 shy of his previous fastest lap. That's troubling for the rest of the field in this group. It'll be very interesting to see how this stacks up. I think it's still going to be a little way off the likes of Damon Woods and co. The track temps are a cool 23 degrees. It is rising. Yeah, it is. It is coming up, so we'll see. But as I said, he's at the moment 1 second off what Damon Woods was able to do in practice just leading up to this session. Big braking zone into turn 11. Little extra dab of the brakes to help get it rotated mid-corner, then jumping on that throttle on corner exit, looking for the strong exit, the good application of traction down onto the back straight. Call it the back straight. It's only 2 corners away from the main straight.
Yeah, I mean, what a circuit. I mean, it just evokes, I mean, how many times can anyone on the internet see Jensen Buttons? My word.
Nailed it.
Absolutely nailed it. That is the limit, ladies and gents. That's what they talk about.
5.56. He's done 3 laps. He's done 3 laps within 0.06 of a second of each other, and they're all 4/10 up the road for the next best driver.
Wow.
That's what.
I mean, that's just it, isn't it? Consistency. This'll tell the story. This is what you want to see. This is this level of commitment through the final corner. Have a look how close he gets. I don't know if you can slide a 50-cent piece between the wheels and the wall there.
If you're not kissing the wall there, you're really pushing there though. Ah, you could give that a little
Heaps
kiss.
of time, heaps of space.
Plenty of room.
That's room through.
The 7,000's in that, you know.
Yeah.
Canadian, you could put a Canadian Mounties hat in between the car and the wall in that one.
Sim Cheap Auto Replay giving us the goods there. Did Chris Barnes just have an off-track excursion? Someone in that little vicinity? Yes, I saw a little puff of dust as he picked up the SRT driver in the Ferrari. And he's currently 7th fastest with a 1 minute 35.3. A little bit of a gap to the car in front of him. This group seems to have split itself into 2. As we pick up his teammate, Rob Bowden, we have switched cars, don't be fooled. Identical liveries. Bowden a little bit further up the road in P4. We must be getting very close to the end of these 15 minutes now.
I think Chris was just giving Bensi a bit of room as he's coming out of the pits.
I can tell you, Rattray White's going on. He's actually going to crack on and have another attempt at a lap here. Yeah, look, I mean, busy liveries tonight. That's what we've seen so far. Rattray White's actually just on a cooldown lap. This will be, I think, his final push lap. But busy liveries, paint everywhere, flares of colour. Look, I might be showing a little bit of my ADHD here, but I like it, boys. I like it. Paint guns are out. Splashes of paint everywhere. A lot going on in a livery, but that's a pretty livery to me.
He's pushing the limit down through turns 3 and 4 there, using all of the curb on the inside, putting half his car off the racetrack, and that's about as far off as you can go. He's really in a controlled slide coming out of turn 7 there. And now into, you'll never guess, another chicane up here.
With big ripples, big curbs on it.
Here we go. This will be a shot. Oh, still room left there.
Plenty of room. Big curbs.
You can really ride those curbs though, a lot more than you can at the final chicane. And that's what's so great about this place. You got 3 chicanes and they're all very different in the way you can approach them.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the first chicane, there's nothing to... I mean, the first chicane, if you treat it that way, is actually 1 and 2. I mean, completely different in element. Sharp left-hander into a very long-flowing right-hander. Second one, very wide open, all about making sure that you're maximising momentum through both ends. Checkered flags, this will be the end of this session. Bents is done. And then you've got that third chicane at 8 and 9. I mean, we've seen just about every time you see a race here, you see somebody bouncing over it and going a little bit wayward. Well, he finally improved. Apparently, there was another 10th in that lap.
1 minute 34.369. Rattray White finally breaks the shackle to the 1 minute 34.5. Smith Mullen flies out of the final corner and to the line, keeps it to the right-hand side of the road, going to shortcut his way to the start-finish stripe, and he does improve, but he doesn't improve his position. In fact, Jason Bentz, he did improve and got very close to Rattray White's time. 1 minute 34.6 from him. It's a good late effort from the Speedcafe driver. No bias at all from us.
Absolutely not. Well, I believe the benefit is that the rules surrounding the vouchers given out for qualifying was that you must have set a practice time. So Rattray White's actually ineligible for that. So at the moment it's going to Bentz. So from Rob Bowden, this could be $10 worth of iRacing credits. What's in this chicane right here? No, pit lane entry, never mind.
I was just thinking, we probably can't award best and fairest to Jason Bentz no matter what he does, can we? Controversy.
Sorry, was that you? We can't. Is that because of it? Well, he's got the right livery. That's a good start.
Yeah. McMullen, is he still on a lap? No, he crossed that stripe, didn't he? So he's just coming back to pit lane. And we'll get our fast... Well, I was almost going to call it the fast 12, but I'm pretty sure that's copyrighted. The Speedy 12 out next.
Fast X11, was it? XII.
Damon Woods, he's clearly going to be the favourite here. He was 4 tenths up the road from anyone in practice. But Lachlan Capel is pushing hard, searching for a race victory this season. If he can start on pole, it'll be...
I think that it's really, really interesting what we're going to see tonight. Like, obviously, Capel's capable of putting the car there. He's certainly capable of pace. The biggest issue he's had so far is tyre wear. Every single race, he's very, very quick on the short run. Absolutely quick, supremely quick, capable of getting towards the front. But you get 15, 20 minutes into the race, and all of a sudden, the guys that are 3-4 seconds behind him just eat him for breakfast. So it is a track position track. It is difficult to get the job done here. But last week, it was exactly the same thing from Catalonia. Tyre burner. This one's quite a lot easier on the tyre. There will still be some burn there, but I think if he's going to come away with a good result, tonight's definitely one of his best opportunities, but he's got to solve that question mark going forwards. You cannot perform with the pace, the speed, and the ability that he has as a driver and suffer that level of tyre wear, that you're always going to go backwards.
We saw him punished 2 weeks ago at Catalonia. He dropped back a few spots once those tyres started getting warm, and the boys were following around like a second-rate Jaws movie. You could hear it watching his revision mirror because we spent a bit of time with him. Damon Woods came back after 1 week off. I think he was out racing Formula Fords the week that we ran a month ago, and he came back and was very dominant. But
yeah, well,
Lachlan...
he's third in the championship, and he's missed a week.
I mean, you know, the other downside from Damon Woods, he's probably had a couple rounds to sort of forget as well. Of the 6 rounds thus far, actually, Matt Dench is the only one to finish in the top 5 at all of them. Capel's had 6 top 10s, and he's just missing the very one top 5. He's at 5 top 5 performances, and I checked back. Well, he just barely broke into the top 10. It was Bathurst. He had a huge incident in the first round of the season, coming down through the S's, was just wrong place, wrong time in the dying moments of that race, and he finished in 10th. So he scraped into that list of 6 top 10s. So they're the only 2 drivers with that achievement so far.
Just on that tyre wear note for Capel, generally if you're quick on a short run, you've got the pace, but then your tyres are falling off, it can often just be a case of, well, driving too hard too early, but also sometimes you just turn the wheel too much and you scrub those fronts.
Well, it'll be interesting. I mean, one of the big opportunities for him, like, for the fans at home, I have actually driven with Lachlan Capel. I've done some endurance racing with him. He's a good kid. He's a very, very good kid, eager to learn. The big opportunity for him with joining Evolution Racing Team, they're one of the stalwarts of Australian sim racing. They've been around for a fair while. He's got the opportunity to learn from some very experienced heads, not only from the racing world. He's got some opportunities going on there, but he's also going to get sim racing experts in as well. There's actually a really interesting interview I saw out of Max Verstappen this week, and he said one of the biggest things one of the biggest reasons that he gets involved into sim racing is because he's not the best at it, and he's challenging himself to go and chase it. I think now's that opportunity for Lachlan Capel to jump in there and learn something. You know, this is a really, really good opportunity for him. He's got to solve that tyre wear problem. He solves that, well, all of a sudden, you know, they can push the setup a little bit further, and maybe they can scrap a little bit more time, raw pace out of the car. All of a sudden, he's on Damon Woods. You know, that's the sort of step up it is. It's, if he's having to make sacrifices on raw pace out of the setup just so he can hang on to those tyres, well, you're never going to be the best car. You're always making those sacrifices. You're always going to be going backwards somewhere. So that's the next step for him.
We did see him change cars for last round too, so that maybe that had a bit of an impact. So he'd been driving the Mercedes up until 2 weeks ago.
We've all seen Max Verstappen on the sim, right? Call himself the best on the sim.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, though, is he said, look, the words that sort of come out of his mouth, to paraphrase, were basically, these guys are doing exactly what I'm doing in real life, just in a simulator. So all the throttle inputs, everything's the same. But I know that I'm just not capable of doing those sorts of things, so I've got to challenge myself. Yeah, sure, it keeps my racecraft, it keeps everything fresh, it's good for practice, but he's doing it just to challenge himself. Like, at the end of the day, throw him in a real-life race car, he's absolutely one of the best in the world, hands down, not a problem. But he's only that way in Formula cars, doesn't have the opportunity to test himself in other cars, as maybe he would have liked. That'll happen over the next 5-10 years or so. But, yeah, the real reason was that he wanted to improve, and he wanted to go chasing something different. That's what sim racing gave him.
Didn't open that can of worms. Meanwhile, Damon Woods, first flying lap out the gate, goes straight to the top and eclipses Rattray White's time by 9/10 of a second. He's already halfway through his second fly here. I dare say this was going to be even quicker. He basically matched his practice time first lap out of the books there from Damon Woods. Talking about tyre warm-up and such, we saw Capel and a number of other drivers taking a slow start to their lap. Damon Woods said, forget about that. I'm just going to go out there and drive as fast as I can.
Much like what he did when he came back to Spain 2 weeks ago. Just came out, drove as fast as he could, left a little bit in the tank. We had a safety car. We weren't quite sure where it was going to leave him once the field banked back up, but he certainly had a little bit left and drove off to the win. So great opening lap from him with a 1:33.476.
And he's actually dived to pit lane on his second lap. So what and done for Woodsy. We'll see what happens there. As we're seeing Thomas Hinds and Lachlan Capel coming to the end of their laps. Sebastian Flock just moved up to 4th position with his lap in the BMW. Dench goes up to P3. That's your championship leader, by the way. And Capel goes second fastest, but he's half a second off Damon Woods.
Is it normally this lap, though, that we see from Dench is where his pace normally comes out? So everyone else is kind of pit lane, they're sort of throwing it away, but Dench has, you know, cured his tyres. He's added that matched set to use another movie term. Yeah, so, I mean, he's going to have a crack. We'll see if it's any better on this time, but what's the sector times looking like? I think that's the key effort.
Well, I'll tell you, he left nothing on corner exit on the left-hand side there between himself and the wall. Braking just under the bridge for the second chicane, hopping over the curb, did it nicely, and again, using all of the racetrack on the exit, really letting that Porsche flow through the corners, maximising that mid-corner speed. Sector 1, 26.3, Sector 2, 28.9. May have missed the apex a little there. Struggled to get it turned and stopped at the same time with the hairpin that will have compromised his exit. Although sometimes, Scott, you can get away with it. If you overshoot the entry to a hairpin, if you pinch that brake, help to get it rotated, and you can get on the throttle a little earlier sometimes.
Well, the big thing that we actually did notice from Barcelona was that any time a Porsche missed its braking zone, I was thinking, I think he's going to come in for a set of tyres here, because any time a Porsche missed its braking zone at Barcelona, they had to basically stop the car then to get it turned. So if they missed the braking, shot deep into the corner, they had to pull the car right up. It was immense. I think you'll see a lot of that here tonight. We saw a moment, was it Willison and Capel traded paint in exactly that sort of situation at Catalonia, and Capel just wasn't expecting him to stop in that format. So, I mean, it's interesting. The other thing I will note about Capel as well, his first qualifying lap was invalidated. So whether that was an off-track, a cut course, whatever it was invalidated. And how's this for track position? Dench rejoins the circuit directly in front of Damon Woods.
See how that plays out. Adam Willison just popped up to P3, and we should mention Willison, the original Porsche commandeer in this series. He was with Porsche from round 1, so he was the real pioneer in that aspect. He hasn't changed allegiances. He's been with the Porsche through the good and the bad. He deserves some good fortune from the speediness of the new car. It wasn't the best for the opening few rounds.
Stuttgart's delivered some upgrades to them mid-season in the form of a complete new vehicle, which is interesting to say, especially with Matty Dench, because he was driving mid-engine Ferrari for the first half of the series. So a few drivers have had to come back and adapt to the new car. They seem to be doing it quite easily, and Porsche is certainly doing well, as we can see with Damon Woods, who's currently leading with his 133.476. Lachlan Capel's on an outlap. Willison's come into the pits.
It's not just a case of changing cars. They've got different driving styles and requirements to make them go faster on the racetrack. Some of them are really great in a straight line and a bit cumbersome through the corners. Some of them are really nimble.
Damon Woods on a flyer, 2 purple sectors.
Yeah.
And literally flying through the last chicane.
Doesn't... Oh, 1 minute 33.1. Fastest lap of the night, fastest time in qualifying by 0.8 of a second.
That's a lap. That's a huge lap. We got some draft assistance there. Was there some additional downforce assistance? Somebody punching a little bit of a hole. Vondel, this is critical for him. Oh, he's tapped the wall there as well, so that's another deleted lap. So I don't necessarily think we've seen all that's out there from Vondel at this point in time.
Big count, goes P10.
Okay, well, you got away with one there.
Might be the lone Lamborghini in the field as well. He just got away with it. Just gave it a little kiss.
Beautiful.
I mean, you have a look at those onboard laps. There's something critical I sort of wanted to have a look around and point out. To anyone who's watching along at home, we've talked over the journey, over the duration here at the Speedcafe series about, you can jump in, you can participate at home. What's the difference, though, between a good driver and a great driver? Watch this from Lachlan Capel. Look how much of the road that he's using. This translates directly to real life. Uses that curb on the right. Now, we saw Rattray White earlier on. He's 1.1 seconds back off the pole time. If you have a look at the way that Dench was driving the circuit, not quite getting the lap time out of it yet, but he's using more of the curbs. He's using more of the track. He knows exactly where the limits are, and he's achieving the most out of the car. Well, it's easier to turn a car through a corner that's a little bit longer, not quite as tight. You can do that by using more of the road.
When you said, what's the difference between a good driver and a great driver, I was just going to say, one of them crashes more. But you put it a bit more eloquently.
Thanks. I mean, I've been trying. We're working. Do some research away.
Dench goes back to P3 and then promptly fires it over the turn 1 curb. Actually got some airtime out of the turn 1 curb. Didn't know that was possible. He was driving it that hard. A 10th shy of Capel, so a 10th shy of the front row. And unless he finds a mega improvement as he smacks the fence, there's the replay.
Oh,
Gave it a good lick through that first corner.
I reckon this is
as well.
This is a push lap back to the pit, so he is actually pressing on, but I don't think it's for lap time. I think this is to try and see if he can eke out another run and another fresh set of tyres. Slightly shorter lap as well compared to Barcelona. So, I mean, we've seen 2 cycles. I'm pretty sure we saw most drivers have 3 fresh cycles in the first round of qualifying, whereas the last couple of rounds, 2-minute lap times, we've been just shy of being able to squeeze that 3rd run in. So they've only had 2 cracks. Benefit of a shorter lap time.
Jordan Paget comes to the line, 34.9. He goes to P10, knocks Vondel back to 11th. Those two separated by 0.5 of a second. How many of the top 10 are Porsche? That's the real question. Top 3, top 4.
And then your favourite, Mercedes and P5 of Zachary Rattray White.
Yep, and then Flock in 7th with the BMW.
Tell you what, Damon Woods is done. He stuck that 133.1 and he's just done. He's not back out on track. He's in pit lane. I think he's got up. He's gone to take a drink of water, walk around, refresh, reset himself for the race. I just don't see a way that lap's going to get beaten.
Loading up the next track he needs on the iRacing shopping cart. Ready for his $10 credit to come his way.
45-minute race, so you want to get out there and refresh yourself for the next stint if you get the opportunity. Nothing worse than mid-stint and you get a bit thirsty or something worse, so...
Aaron Cooper's pushing on in car 105. It's a Porsche. Shock horror. Doesn't use all the track on the exit of the corner there, turn 7. Sort of falls away from him a bit there. When you come out of turn 7, Scott, the track, it feels flat, but the car just keeps pushing further and further left.
Yeah, I think the big thing as well with a lot of the open wheel cars, or at least the smaller cars as well, like as soon as you try and step on the power, the rear end actually there, it's just low grip. It just wants to keep coming around on you, so it catches you out not only with the car pushing, but then alternatively, if it's not stable, if it's not quite reassured in that rear end, the rear will come around. So a lot trickier than you actually take it for. And realistically, you come in there going, oh, this is a little bit of a break around the lap. Yeah, none of that.
We'll see if he goes to pit lane or whether he goes towards the Wall of Champions. It's the latter option. He's before the curb. You're going to be really tricky to get that right when you're following someone closely in the race tonight, because it can be hard to pick out the turning point and spot where the apex is. And if you take just a little too much time, as he goes up to P4 with that lap, a good effort there from Cooper. He found 0.4 of a second in terms of an improvement. That's a great job. As I was saying though, going to be tricky in the race because the slowdowns on the inside of that corner are monumental for how small of an error it is, as Hins goes inside the top 10 to P9. And then slides through turn 2. Willison, he went to 4th as well just prior to that. And the Lamborghini of Sebastian Vandel looking to put himself back into the 10. Oh, he's lost it, and he's just gets the wall. He did a good job there. That could have been much, much bigger.
Saved an expensive rear spoiler replacement, which is good to see.
As soon as she put a replay, Scott, he grabbed the curb at the wrong angle.
It's that first curve, too much that first curve. The entire car was off the ground, I think, there for a little bit, and the second curve, I mean, it was too late. By that point, the car was already in recovery mode. But yeah, he's done a phenomenal job, particularly for a car that's got ABS, traction control. Doesn't like you trying to lock the brakes and keep the car going in one direction. Some supreme car control. But is that also a sign of the times? Is that also a sign of what we're expecting tonight? I mean, I'll put it to you this way, Ryan. What do you expect? We're at a street track. We are at a street track. Drama? Chaos? Well, who knows?
Is it?
Yeah,
we could have
it's
this debate all night.
good.
Checkered flag. Cooper goes up to P4 right after the checkered flag, so his session's done. He had been knocked back. He's gone back to 4th again. Lachlan Capel, this will be his final effort. Oh, he really flew over that second part of the final chicane, turn 12. I don't think it's an improvement from him. He didn't worry too much about staying to the right, and it's not an improvement. He's a couple tenths off. A lot of drivers back in the pits already. Sebastian Vandel, I think the last driver, but his lap will be ruined because he came onto it with basically no speed. Carmichael moves him down a further spot, goes to 12th. Jordan Paget, what's he got? A late improvement? Up and over the curb, 2 personal best sectors for him. Currently sitting 11th, make that 12th. It's Vandel. How's he done that? Jordan Paget comes to the line, and he does improve by a couple tenths, goes to P9. Vandel back to 10th. But how did Vandel improve? He started that lap at a standstill.
Unless that's his first actual representative lap time. That's interesting.
It's remarkable. He must have absolutely nailed the last 2 sectors. There's no way he improved from Sector 1.
I mean, he had a little bit of a break. Well, the other thing is, I mean, Lamborghini, it turns a little bit better with a little bit extra heat in those rear tyres. Gave him a little bit of extra slip. It was doing the old Lamborghini drift, but found pace in it. Big seller.
Might have tweaked the rear wing, given him some more track as well. Who knows? A little bit less drag. But that is it for qualifying here for round 7 of the Speedcafe eSeries Championship. And it looks like Damon Woods is going to be a very hard man to beat tonight. Fastest in practice by 4 tenths. fastest in qualifying by 0.8 of a second.
My word. What a driver. What a talent. I mean, you know, and it just makes me want to chomp at the bit. I need to go and do some more reading, more study on him and how he's going in Formula Fords away from here. He's been quick for an extended period of time. I think the thing is, this has sort of taken the wraps off it. There's been no real series, no real opportunity for him to really show his wares in terms of Australian GT3 racing. This is it. We're finally getting the opportunity for him to prove to us how good and how talented he is in an Australian outset. Because he's been doing a lot of racing overseas, been really challenging, pushing himself in terms of the official racing and whatnot as well. So yeah, we just getting the ability to see it here.
So he's sideways, he's in the fence, he's got absolutely no momentum to start this lap. I think his saving grace was that the run between where you start the lap and where you brake for turn 1 is not very long at all. If this was Barcelona, there's no way he would have improved. He'd have lost about a second by the time he got to turn 1. I think that was the saving grace. It's a short run from the start line to the braking zone for that first corner. A couple of standouts there. Jordan Paget, I haven't seen much of him in this championship so far, but he's up inside the top 10. And a really competitive fight, looking like it's breaking out for what's going to be best of the rest almost. Capel down to Willison, 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th, covered by 1/10 of a second.
Oh, I mean, Woods has just found something special, hasn't he? Whether or not he's running a higher or lower wing angle, I mean, they're all chasing it. The big thing I will say about Dench is that he's no slouch in terms of those setups. And Capel's been doing a lot of work with his team sponsors and his setup builders behind the screen. They've been really working on that setup to try and extract everything they possibly can out of the 992 spec for him. And it's still, I mean, 7/10 back. That's a golf. I mean, What is Damon Woods got to do to not finish on the top step, Ryan? I think that's the key.
Get through the first lap. That's the first goal. This is how they'll line up then for round 7 of the Speedcafe eSeries Championship. Damon Woods puts himself on pole for Door Esports. Locke and Capel will join him on that front row, and we'll be desperately hoping he can go around the outside of that first corner. Matthew Dench and Aaron Cooper share the second row of the grid. Adam Wilson for SimRigs.com DPR starts out of P5, the original Porsche pioneer. Zach Rattray White goes from P6, first of the non-Porsches. Sebastian Flock and Jason Bent, 7th and 8th. Jordan Paget, good effort, up into 9th, and Sebastian Vandel into P10 against all odds for Pursuit Sim Racing with that last flying lap. Thomas Inns, Marlon McMullen round out the top 12. Scott?
Yeah, and we're moving back to Rob Carmichael at Pursuit Sim Racing. Did have a great round out at Catalunya. Gonna be mid-pack here in this one. Rob Bowden and Tyler Blackburn. Now we're getting a little bit out of sync. So Jamie McKnight off alongside Tyler Blackburn. Stephen Bartholomew, the privateer entry alongside Chris Barnes in the Tank SRT. Amar Sharma and Braden O'Loughlin take us back to the top 20. Andrew Dishot and Shane Newens are going to round out your top 11 rows of the field.
So now the question is who gets to turn 1 first. It's a very interesting opening complex here, Peter, because you've got that short run to the braking zone for turn 1, and if you can hang around the outside, you've got the preferred line for turn 2 and turn 3. So you've got to do a mega job if you're on that inside, which should be the preferred line, to actually hang on to your spot.
And you say it's turn 1. Well, turn 1 starts about 50 metres before you go into it to the right, so it's certainly an interesting section of corners with a cold track, cold brakes, cold mines. We've, although Damon Woods came back 2 weeks ago and did a great trouble-free run, we have seen him make a couple of mistakes in the past, which has put him into back into the pack. So he needs to keep his heels clean, because there is from Lachlan, Denchi, Aaron, and Adam Willison. It's very tight back there in 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th.
Well, this place plays like a street circuit. Tight confines, concrete all around, possibility for drama, chaos, incidents, and who knows what is high. We've got 45 minutes ahead of us, and we're set for a start in Montreal. Damon Woods off pole. Can anyone stop him as we go racing? And the green flag flies. It's a mega launch for Damon Woods. Lachlan Capel's going to have to fend off Dench down into turn number 1, the braking zone. As we fire to the left-hand side, can everyone get through the first complex safely? No, because around goes Adam Willison, facing backwards, and he's going to get hit by one of the Tank Test RT cars. That was Rob Bowden that ran into him. Everyone else gets through there.
Keep your eyes up and down the field as well. I mean, everyone's just about managed to settle their way in, with the exception of those couple. I was critical to see whether or not Capel got through and managed to slot himself into P number 2, but Dench has managed to grab a spot, and now I think Sebastian Flock's grabbed one. Well, Rattray White's had an issue.
Was he wide coming through turn? No. What happened to Rattray White? I think he might have clipped the inside wall at turn 5. And he is going backwards. Or he's possibly... Was he the one to turn Adam Willison around? Is he redressing? Who knows? We'll have to pick that up and follow that storyline there for Car 17. What is Rattray White doing? I think this is a redress.
And it is. It was exactly Rattray White, just on the inside. Just clipped his nose with his bumper for Adam Willison and turned Adam Willison around, and he seems slowing up.
And trouble out of the hairpin in live pictures. We see the replay there. Just a little bump at the end. Well, won't be any damage from that for either car involved. Jason Bentz went around, exiting the hairpin. Now they're side by side on the run up to the final chicane. Hinds and Van Dell fighting for real estate. Hinsey wins out. And there's a big gap that's formed behind Matthew Dench to the rest of the field. Top 4 are broken away.
Rattray White's got a slowdown penalty. Stephen Bartholomew, 2 drivers get a slowdown penalty coming through that chicane in the second lap. So the other option is that Rattray White may have received a slowdown penalty, potentially, because he had to slow excessively there on the run of the turn to get that one clear. So I don't think so. I had a quick look at all of his lines through the first couple of chicanes. I think it was an attempted redress, but the problem was because Wilson went so far back, he was trying to redress, trying to pick him up. Couldn't find him. That means he's way too far down. He's getting a drive-through penalty. Now he's going to press on.
He went halfway back through the field and didn't even redress, so he's cost himself a lot of time there. A bit of a mess of that as we pick up on board with Lachlan Capel. He's stuck to the back bumper of Woodsy a little bit here. Hasn't let him jump out too far. The gap's 8/10 of a second, which is exactly what it was in qualifying. And we're a lap and a half in. He's done a better job than he did in qualifying for now. But you get the feeling Woods, there's no reason for Woods to push too hard here. He knows he's got pace in hand. And he might also know that, as you picked up, Scott, Lachlan Capel not the best on his tyre life. So if he can just fend off the early couple of laps on that Evolution Racing T car, he'll be home. As we see the black flag come up for Rattray White.
Yeah, I think that was a slam dunk penalty. That one was pretty easy to come across. Now, the critical thing here from Dench is, yeah, he's very aware. He's very sure of himself. He knows exactly where he sits in terms of that overall pace. I'm curious. I expected Woods to be gone by a country mile, but Dench here, this is an interesting one. Cooper got a great jump on lap number 1. How's he going to fare with this one? We've seen really, really good race brain from Matthew Dench. That's been his key thus far this season. And he knows as well that he's a mile ahead. What's the best possible thing that he can do? Accept a 4th place sometimes. Just let that one go by and accept championship points, or sit on those tyres. We'll let you decide, ladies and gents.
Some big winners on the opening couple of laps. Thomas Hinds came up 6 spots, but now he's under immense pressure from that roaring Lamborghini of Sebastian Van Dell coming out of turn number 7. And Jordan Paget in behind them as well. And Rob Carmichael got another job to gain 5 spots. So was Tyler Blackburn in the opening lap.
It looked like Jason Bentz had a little bit of a helping hand at the hairpin on turn 1, on lap 1. He made a position, but there may have been a little bit of contact there too. So a bit of bad luck for Bentz. He's put him in the back of the field.
Well, here we go. Super G Bordeaux once again telling us what's happened. So Bentz has got Flock behind him. I don't think there's anything in that.
That might not be as close.
I think he definitely hit him, but I might suggest Bentz was on his way with some overly eager throttle application before that contact was made.
I mean, who remembers the Craig Lowndes Greg Murphy incident from...
Whoa, Van Dell! Wall of Champions, he finds it again. This time, takes Jordan Paget with him. They both keep it pointing in the right direction, but that was a huge tank slapper for Van Dell. There was a
young
little bit of
go-karter as
contact
well.
behind him. Sorry, Scotty.
No, Sebastian Vandel's really not phased by a wiggly car underneath him. Does a lot of go-karting in real life. Another young driver. Has he picked up himself up a slowdown penalty as well? I'm wondering.
Yeah, I think
No, it's not B-ball flag. He's got damage.
he gave it a solid lick for the right front and then copped one in the left rear from Paget. But that's costly, that mistake for Vandel. It'll be too early to make that pit stop to get home as well, I think.
I mean, if he can get through another 2 or 3 laps, so he's got 3 laps to come in to the attention of his team and his engineers to get that one fixed. So
Needs to go a little further back on that replay. We'll see what happens. It was almost a carbon copy of what he did in qualifying.
I reckon it's that left rear. I reckon his left rear's not sitting. Got a great contact patch on the ground at the moment. I think that's where the damage is. Yeah, so I mean, he's comfortable in a car that's wriggling all around, comfortable in a car that's not necessarily got as much grip as he'd potentially like, but GT3 cars, he's driven a lot of endurance racing, Vandel, so he'll know what he needs to do. He's an aggressive driver. He will go for gaps that don't necessarily exist. He will push the limits, and that Lamborghini sometimes doesn't reward that side of driving style.
Damon Woods is starting to sail off into the sunset out at the front of the field. He's opened the gap out to 2 seconds. Was 4/10 quicker than Capel last time by, and I dare say the quickest man on the racetrack by quite a margin. Yeah, Capel was second quickest and still 4/10 shy. Everyone else slapping in the high 34s. Woods, a 33.9.
And I think we'll see the pit lane window will close about lap 16 tonight, lap 16, lap 17, so there's ample time to probably come in if you had to, if there was a safety car any time from here. Obviously we start the races with a predetermined fuel load of about 46%. Not quite enough to get you through the race, but plenty of room to put some fuel in if you had to, but I guess you don't really want to carry that much fuel around on those tyres because you'll certainly be punished at the end of the race if you're battling trying to catch Woods or Lachlan Capel.
I'm wondering whether or not that fuel number is actually being questioned by a number of these drivers as Flock's going to get down the inside here. Whether or not that's the 1-2-4 machine of Carmichael just saying, yeah, look, I'm just going to save some fuel. We're just going to save some tyre. I don't necessarily think he's looking to fight Sebastian Flock too hard, but it was a good move for Flock.
Watching Braden O'Loughlin a little further down the order, had a great start, came out of 20th, was up to 14th at the end of the opening lap, or at least lap 2. But he's just pulled over there and let a couple cars go by. I wonder if he's just taking an approach tonight to keep himself out of trouble and have a clean run of proceedings. Because Willison got a run and he basically waved him and Bartholomew on by.
The movers.
Sorry, go ahead, Pete.
The movers so far is Aaron Cooper's up +1 position. We've got Matty Dench down 1. Thomas Hinds is up 6 spots. Jordan's up 3. Rob Carmichael's up 5 spots. Tyler Blackburn's up 6 spots. Jamie McKnight's up 5 spots. Amar Sharma is up 7 spots. Robbie Bowden's up 1. We've got Chris Barnes up 4. Adam Willison's down 10, back in 15th position. We've got Steve Bartholomew up 1. Jason Bent is down 10 and 18th. And Sebastian Vandel down 12 spots in the last position. Mars pushing there, the tail's stepping out on the Audi.
And that's going to open the door as Marlon McMullen and Tyler Blackburn duel it out on the run up to turn number 8 and 9. Now into the hairpin, turn 10. Blackburn might be a little bit too far back to get up the inside, but McMullen moved that car over just half a car's width, just to dissuade the racing Ozman in case he did want to go for that late move. As you can see on the timing screen, Wilson and Barnes doing a bit of a tango on the leaderboard. Wilson eventually gets through.
Something to do with a highlight at the moment actually is Thomas Hinds. With that +6, he's now the best non-Porsche that we're seeing at this point. This will be a move. This will be brave.
Bowden in the Ferrari on the inside of the Audi, overdoes it into the first part of the final chicane. Could that give Sharma the exit? No, he's done a good job. Good move there from Rob Bowden. Decisive, aggressive, and clean, most importantly.
Something's wrong with Braden O'Loughlin. because he's just losing spots like you would not believe. He's dropping like a rock. So something's either wrong. Either he's got damage. I mean, the damage is on the front end of that Porsche, and the engine's located in the back. So it's not necessarily engine damage, but he doesn't look happy with that Porsche at all.
Has he got steering damage?
Maybe. It's a bit difficult to tell at the moment because I mean
It doesn't stop turning. Even this straight here has got a bit of a king to it.
For a track with a couple of big long straights, there's certainly there's a lot of turning of the steering wheel.
I think
he's got steering gauge.
Yeah, slightly tweaks right hand down. Just a little bit, but it's enough as he locks up and runs wide.
Well, the worst part is, if it's excessive steering damage, you come down the pits and you get it fixed straight away. But it's like 3 or 4 degrees, so it's just enough to know that it's there, but not enough to say I've got to get this fixed. I think he's hanging out from the pit window opening, so I expect either this lap or the next lap for Brad.
Picking up Aaron Cooper. In P3 at the moment, started this one from 4th. He's 3 seconds back of Lachlan Capel. We'll see whether that gap starts to come down as we go further through this race. But last lap, Capel was just a couple hundred slower than Cooper, but nothing to be alarmed about. More alarming for Cooper will be Matthew Denchen behind him, who I thought was about to absolutely pancake that wall. But he kept the right side out of the concrete just about, but pushing extremely hard to find a way by the 105 car. At the moment, proving hard as he does hit the wall that time.
Yeah, so pushing on. I'm just watching Capel already, so we're expecting that golden lap time, the golden time on the tyres to be about lap 2, lap 3. His best lap time in the session, 34.368 on lap 4. Lap 2 ran a 34.4, lap 3 ran a 34.4. Then he's started to fall back. So on lap 5, he did a 5.36. Lap 6, 8.12. That'll be a mistake. There'll be an error on that lap for sure. But then a 6.32. And this lap has not looked tidy from the youngster either. So I'm wondering whether or not we're about to see that good old Capel trend continue.
Plenty happening in the rear-view mirror of Amar Sharma. He's got Chris Barnes and Stephen Bartholomew lined up, trying to find a way by. Adam Wilson's already found a way by on this lap. You can see how Barnes closes up right at the apex of that final corner. And then the gap goes back out. Nice little concertina effect in and out of the corner. But you've got to be very careful with those closing speeds, especially in these different manufacturers. The braking zones can be not massively different, but a few meters is all it takes to accidentally smash into the back of someone that you were just comfortably cruising behind a few meters ago.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be tricky as well for Adam Willison. Rattray White, a number of the drivers are actually on their way back through the field. This is the second week in a row for Adam Willison.
Couldn't get it stopped, goes through the grass, can't turn it on the grass. He gets back on the racetrack, but he loses 2 spots for his troubles. Bartholomew's on the inside. Barnes didn't get a good exit. That almost allowed Sharma to come back past Bob.
Marlon McMullen, something's just happened to Marlon
McMullen. Oh, big crash, up the road, track's blocked, and Willison with nowhere to go. Barnes gets through, Sharma doesn't, he collects him. Big incident, this will be a safety car for sure. And Rattray White cops a piece of it as well. McMullen had a technical problem, and it unleashed a can of worms that's decimated about 5 or 6 cars. Big damage to the Mercedes of Andrew Deschott. Safety car comes out. Looks like Willison and McMullen will get going again, but we've gone yellow.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah, full course yellow. That's the moment. So there was an issue with Marlon. He just something's gone, so he can't see. So I would say he's had a monitor. He's had a, depending upon if he's on VR, I'd say he's just got nothing he can see in front of him. His screen's frozen. Sometimes that can catch.
We need to grab some onboards, because coming through that blind corner, that would have been quite the sight to suddenly see out the windscreen. Especially, who was it? Chris Barnes managing to pick his way through that, while the cars behind him did not suffer the same fortune. You see nothing Willison could do, but how about that from Barnes? Remarkable. Here's McKnight.
Oh, he blinked out.
Yeah. McKnight knew nothing about it. Nothing
that's
he can
hardware
do.
failure. Yeah, Jamie actually came on the radio and said, "Look, man, there was absolutely nothing I can do." All Marlon's sitting there and saying is, "Man, I've just had a week. He's actually had some real dramas in real life as well this week. So this is just unlucky for him." And McKnight said, "Yeah, straight away. Look, I was just trying to prevent it. I was trying to do everything I possibly could to prevent
Watch
it."
this.
Nothing Jamie McKnight could do. That car just appeared from nowhere. I'm just having a look back at the replay now, and he's dropped off the screen and come back right on the right-hand side, just as Jamie's coming around that right-hander. So
It's nothing Willison could do either. Unfortunately, I think Willison was maybe the only driver who couldn't get away from that and had to actually tow back to pit lane. The rest of them were able to drive back and take their spare car.
I think McKnight got a pretty big hit to the rear end of his car, so I think he may have actually had to tow as well. I think the engine actually went out of that car. So D-Shot's also in the pit lane. So I think we've got 4 cars in the lane at the moment. So
you remember these guys? All these guys are running some high-tech hardware. They're running all direct drives with force feedback, and contacts like that hurt.
oh, he got away with it. No way. That's awesome. Was that Bowden behind McKnight?
Yet the 2 tanked SRT cars just used up all their luck for the night. Retro White, but unlucky as he came through. But the two red Ferraris, how about that?
Well, Rob Bowden actually nearly got through, but then lost it coming out the other side.
Wow. That is... Oh, no. I thought he got through, but he's clipped the fence. Now, Capel's pitted.
Everyone's in the pits.
Except Damon Woods. So Damon Woods stays out with Chris Barnes.
Yep.
I'm trying to figure out what they're debating. I think as Capel pitted, he might have passed that pace truck.
Yeah, I would say he has.
Yeah, he definitely has, because he's got to stop and hold in pit lane. What a disaster for Capel. Because with Woods staying out, he didn't dive to pit lane before he picked up the live shot, did he?
No. No, so yeah, he didn't dive into the lane. So are we shy of the pit lane window is my big question. So
I'm just listening to the chat over the radio. Yeah, maybe Woodsfield's has got the pace to pit and still...
The only thing I can think of is that the pit lane opened late and Woods didn't see it.
Yeah.
No, well, they were queued up. They were queued up way before they got to pit lane, so the window would have opened for them.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, it's a iRacing safety car, so those procedures are in effect. Pit lane opens once the field is formed up. It's not really been adjusted to road racing, the iRacing yellow flag system. It basically works off oval rules.
It does, yeah.
So once the field catches up, then it opens pit lane.
Yep.
And when you pit, you can't pass that pace track, which is a problem on some ovals, but not normally. But a place like Silverstone, or this place where the pit entry is a bit of a shortcut,
yeah,
it is a problem.
It's a big issue at Gateway, is the critical one that I was thinking of.
Yeah, funny story. I had a crash there at Gateway for that exact reason. Car in front of me jumped on the brakes, and I was like, oh no, yeah. Trying to come into pit lane. But yeah, so Capel, we don't do iRacing yellow flags very often.
Technical issues was actually the reason. So normally we actually have somebody in the server actually driving the safety car. There was technical issues tonight that prevented somebody being able to get into that car, and then by the time that this is one of those things where it's sim racing versus real life racing. Real life racing, obviously, you just have somebody sit in the car. It's that simple. Within iRacing, you've got to have there's all these dots and ticks and crosses that you sort of got to go through and make sure that you tick it off, because you can't take it back once you do. And I think it's a really interesting debate. I think we've actually had this one a couple of times this season. Is cost benefit, well, not cost benefit, but the differences between a simulator and a race car. It's really interesting. I love the fact that we have sim racing. I love the fact that it's not real life racing, because some of the moments it creates you just can't create in real life racing. Same way, vice versa. Also works the other way.
And
some of the ones you you don't walk away from like you do on iRacing as well, which is a wonderful thing.
We can get excited about those big shunts there that would have been a little hard to mouth in real life. But,
oh man,
in the sim.
would have just been in surgery for hospital, weeks and weeks of recoveries. No, completely fine. I actually messaged him, Pete, after that incident the other week, because I said, oh look, I mean, he could have broken a hand. Perfectly fine. He let go of the wheel in time, so Riley was actually all okay. You'll have to go back and watch it. Right? That was mega.
So the lights are out on the pace truck, which means we're going back racing on this lap.
We've got race control's got plenty to say.
Jason Benz has called for a double file restart. No thanks. Keep the single file, boys.
Well, it was spreading out. Sorry to cut you off. It was spreading out. You know, sad for the drivers that had a bit of a break, but great for us because the whole field's back up again behind the safety truck, and here we go, just under half race distance, and we're going to do it all again. Yeah, well now Woods has got to somehow build up a margin to make his pit stop, come back out, still win this race under green flag conditions. He's going to lose so much time doing that. Close to 30, 40 seconds. I don't think it's possible. Capel's in the box seat here. He got his P2 back. There is a lapped car between himself and Woods, but Capel's race isn't with Woods anymore. He just needs to stay with the touching distance of him.
With the guys behind, but I'm really curious. We need to do another dive into what his lap times have looked like, because this will be a big opportunity for him.
Yeah, well, Woods has got a pit, so I don't see a way for Woods to win this race without another safety car. So Capel, Dench, Cooper, they make up the top 5 behind Woods. A few big winners through all of that, the drama, the big crash, and now the restart. 23 minutes left in this race. And Damon Woods is going to hold him. Going to stack this field up, and we get the green flag, and we go back racing in Montreal. And they're 3 wide already behind them. Big dive on the inside. That's Aaron Cooper trying to wind his way up the inside, now the outside of Thomas Hinz. Mega restart from Cooper. Jordan Paget lost out a couple spots. Sebastian Flock was in there. They're still side by side behind him. That's Blackburn and Rob Bowden through the second or first chicane, whatever you want to call it. Bowden gets ahead through the trouble spot that brought out the yellow. There's contact for Vandell. He hangs onto it again. Vandell sideways all race long, and still he survives.
Now, the critical thing for Vandell as well, he has no mulligan. He's already burned that repair for that car. So any damage he's got now, he's got to carry to the end of the race. Might want to adjust that. Just tweak it down just a little bit, Vandell. I want to think about that one twice.
Soaks half the field after that incident. Willison, Rathro White probably, Bowden. A lot of them with dramas that will have necessitated that spare car there on their last legs in this race. As they're all stuck behind Chris Barnes, who's in second. I thought Barnes was a lapped car. That completely escapes me, Scott. Barnes vaulted to second, but the reason is he hasn't pitted.
He hasn't pitted.
Yeah. That was the critical thing. So Kate was they were looking at restarting him second, and then when it went, hang on, no, Barnes actually hasn't pitted. So Barnes is definitely there on merit. Well, I mean, at the moment, he's got the opportunity to go toe-to-toe, finish second behind Woods on that strategy.
What this is doing is it's allowing Woods to skip away. The longer Capel gets stuck behind Barnes here, who just isn't as quick as those guys behind him, the bigger gap that Woods can get. 40-second gap? Probably not, but it might allow Woods to maybe sneak back into the top 5 at the end of the race.
Willison's in pit lane. Adam Willison's come back to the attention of his crew.
Don't know why they didn't pit.
It could just be...
Absolutely gone on that. Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, it could just be a lapse in judgment, really. Not realising pit lane was open. Once Capel pitted, everyone behind him could see, pit stop, we've got a pit. But see that car in front, you don't have that benefit. Now, we're on board from Capel here. The Evolution Racing team, Porsche, is struggling to find a way by the Ferrari. It's tough to pass here, contrary to what you might think with all the big braking zones and whatnot. But the high-speed nature of some of these corners, the way it concertinas up into the hairpin and then the exit, isn't conducive to getting a big run. And there's contact. Capel's going to save it. But that was contact that's now damaged the back of Dench's car as Cooper got to the back of him as he slowed down. This is the trouble with the slower car in front. You've got to be very aware of what's happening. And Dench just wasn't expecting him to go that slowly. Now pushing him down the straight.
Yeah, I was about to say, this is all concertinaing just a little bit. Everyone's, you know, it's a little bit of you duck, I'll dodge, you know, sort of situation. You'll zig, I'll zag. The issue that we've got at this point in time, I think Capel's tyres are done again. I don't think he's capable of those times. His times have continued to maintain about that 34.8 marker, so he's in trouble.
No tyres taken during that pit stop either. But good job from Dench to really back out of it and avoid turning Capel all the way around, and Cooper as well to check up as much as he could to only give a little hit to the back of Dench. But now,
for a mid,
Thomas Hind, Sebastian Flock, Jordan Paget, Bowden, they're all involved in this picture now.
for a mid-race restart, it was very tidy. But as you said, that's this battle pack starting to gather competitors. And it's certainly getting sporty now for everyone from P2 back to about P12.
Hagen's having to go at Flock here.
Yeah, Flock sees that coming and defends. You can't go around the outside, so as long as you cover the inside for turn 8, you're golden. And that's exactly what Flock did. Blackburn, top 2nd through 11th. Now line astern in this race. And I reckon Van Dell will join that picture soon enough. The gap for Damon Woods, it's already out to 5.5 seconds. We've been racing for 3.5 minutes. I mean, surely he can't build a pit stop's worth of a gap.
No, that would be absurd. You're looking sort of at about 50 seconds he would need to build. I just don't think that's capable. Let alone the problem he's got is he's got a pit here in probably about 5-10 minutes time. So there's not enough time available to build the margin he needs. Another safety car. Although, because somebody gets desperate to try and get past Barnes here, that could change the picture.
The problem with another safety car is he will pit, obviously, but he'll have to restart behind everyone because they're all going to stay out. Either way, this is going to be very interesting. I think we're looking at the battle for the net lead with, well, we are looking at the net lead with Capel and Dench as it stands. And Capel, that's why he's so eager to get by Barnes, even though they're not racing on the same strategy, because it's backing him up into his main rival in this race. And there could be the fight for the win here. Good exit for Capel. Will it get him close enough by the little braking zone we have for turn 8? No, not quite. But he's just showing that nose, filling the mirror with that Ferrari in front, letting him know he's there. Another strong exit. Draws closer again. This time he might be close enough for a lunge to hairpin.
I'd have a go. I'd absolutely have a go. I think you've got to pull the trigger if you're capable.
He's gone for it. Late on the brakes, down on the inside. Can he get it stopped? Just about. He meets the apex nicely, but they turn into an exit, and he gets slowed up, and here comes Dench. This could be for the win, this. 20 minutes left in the race. The leading cars that have made their pit stop, Dench will go through. Capel straight back into that slipstream. Will he go for a move on the brakes into the final chicane? No, he's going to bide his time there. But Barnes fell back behind Cooper and all of that. And Dench makes a mistake. And Capel goes back
He's
through.
got damage. He's got damage. That car is not driving straight. He's definitely got damage in that one.
Possible slowdown.
My first instinct when he hit that wall was that right rear tyre did not look like it was on straight. Could be the shroud.
Well,
he could have gotten away.
He did have damage already from when he got hit at the hairpin. That could be what you're seeing. This is what he did. Just way too much of the second curve. Gives it a solid whack with the right rear. He'd be lucky to have gotten away with that. But based on where he's running right now, he has got away with it. But he's dropped a spot. Aaron Cooper's up to a net second. All of this has blown Woods' lead out to 9 seconds.
You know what? It's the shroud. He's actually okay. It's because the shroud is black. It obscures the tyre. He's fine. He's actually fine. My word. You might want to do that twice.
No, what it's done is it's put Capel back in the box seat. I think once Dench got out in front, Capel probably doesn't have the pace to go with him. All Dench needed to do was get through that chicane. He couldn't do it. Flock still under pressure from Jordan Payton and had a look at the inside. He didn't mean to dive him. He comes over the radio comms to say sorry for coming from a long way back. So Woods pits. We'll probably expect Chris Barnes to pit as well from back in 5th position, and he does. So this is now officially for the lead of this race, and surely for the win. As Woods is still transiting to his pit bay as Capel goes by. New race leader.
Ryan, you came in tonight saying, when will we see Lachlan Capel's first win? You might have called it. Long way to go, but still in a great spot now with 15 minutes to go.
Did you just invoke the commentator's curse? I think you did.
No.
Woods hasn't lost a ton of time. He comes out 17 seconds behind Capel. If they keep battling how they have for the last few laps, Woods could buy himself back in here. He's far from out of it. We know that anything can happen in this championship. And Capel, is he struggling for tyre life in that car? Has he sorted it tonight? If he's anything short of the quickest car out there, he's going to have trouble because he's got a line of cars starting to get ready to attack him again. Cooper going with him. He hasn't won this season. I don't think he's been on the podium this season either, has he?
No, absolutely not. The tricky thing right now is that we're all sitting here and none of us know. None of us know whether or not Capel's tyres are okay because we haven't had a representative lap time from that group of cars yet. This will be the first time. This is really the first time we've seen these guys wind up. Whether or not they'll be able to stick it, well, we're about to find out. But also, think about the difficulty they had with getting past Barnes. Overtaking difficulty, extreme here tonight, lads. Extreme!
Jump further back to Carmichael. He's about to make a move on Tyler Blackburn. This is the battle for 8th place, and a dive on the inside on the brakes from Carmichael gets it done. He tries to back Blackburn up because his teammate's coming through as well. Sebastian Vandel couldn't quite get him backed up far enough. Personal best laps, by the way, for Cooper and Dent on that lap. Blackburn struggling here. Rear end sliding all over the place. Vandel, that's brave. Around the outside at 5. Gives himself the overlap for the inside of 6. Blackburn tried to turn it, had to open the steering, then gets fed out wide by Vandel. Rattray White's going to come on through. It's a freight train of cars going by Blackburn on this lap. He won't be happy with how that's played out.
What a drive, though, from Zach Rattray. There was 2 drivers, and I was going to mention one of them prior to that safety car restart. Willison, the last 2 weeks, has had a torrid time. Absolutely torrid time. Driven in anger, and he's driven really well. He's impressed me with his aggressiveness, much like this one.
Yeah, Bent, he's trying to go around the outside of Blackburn. And I think finally Blackburn stems the flow, but it's a good exit for Bent, and he's pushing the Racing Oz car down the straight. Got to be careful not to turn in there. He's pushing on the left rear. That's dangerous. Now he pulls out. Blackburn's got the inside line. Doesn't really need to outbrake Bent because the smart man will back out of it, and he does. And Blackburn finally gets away.
Well, I think that was Bent's opportunity. I would have left it in there if I was Bent's. He had the nose ahead.
That would have been a crash 10 times out of 10. I guarantee it. So, Capel, 34.4 last time by. Cooper, half a tenth quicker. Dench, actually the slowest of the 3.
Is this Dench just sitting on his tyres just that little bit again? Just being a little bit patient? Is that the damage starting to show itself in that car as well? You know, so he's got 2 pristine who are just about on the verge of, well, neither of them are pristine Porsches anymore. They've all had scuffs. So, is it him ailing? Is it Capel ailing? Is it being backed up? Capel's got that clean air. He's doing really, really well. I really think it's one of those markers whereby that clean air is just so important. I reckon they'd have something for him if it was a clean air versus clean air battle, but we won't get to see that.
Oh, Capel just missed the turn in ever so slightly. But as ever with a hairpin, if you miss the entry, you can recover the lost time with a strong exit. Dench fired it in there, pretty deep on the brakes. Got right up to the back of Cooper. And closed in about 6 car lengths, I reckon.
Well, Matty Dench is leading the championship, so a third spot tonight is probably fairly sensible for him. We could put a bit of pressure on these two to maybe force a mistake, but he's just probably looking to keep his. He would have had a bit of a scare a couple of laps ago when he was right rear into the wall of champions. So,
well, the problem for Dench, his closest rival in the championship, is leading this race. Lachlan Capel's second in the points coming in here. Big opportunity for both of them to continue to pull away from Woods in the points battle.
I'm starting to see a lot of weakness. Capel, multiple heavy braking zones in a row, has had to really stop that car. Remember what we talked about at the top of the show? When you stop the car, when you go deep into braking, the Porsche, you've really got to stop it. We're starting to see him ail under brakes. It's the mid-corner where he's vulnerable. The problem is, mid-corner, there's probably only one spot you can really deal with that and get it done. Well, maybe two. It's either turn 2 or it's the hairpin. Those are the only spots he's going to be vulnerable.
About 10 minutes left in this race. And I think the quickest car is now looking like it's Dench. May have taken a little cooler or made a little mistake, but he's really starting to harass the back of Cooper. And you mentioned the dirty air. Dench has got that in two fault from two cars in front of him. If he can find a way by Cooper, it may become slightly easier for him to range up to the back of Capel. And Woods, by the way, has brought the gap in by 1.4 seconds. But with 10 minutes left, it's not enough.
But these front three as well, they're pulling away to the tune of 7.5 tenths, so 3/4 of a second over the next real gap. So next group of cars, it'll be interesting to see where Woods gets back to, but this from Rattray White's been a good drive as well.
Oh, steady on, boys. So I'm glad they saw Sexton as well. They also decided not to run side by side towards the wall of champions. Rattray White and Van Dell were banging doors into the braking zone. Rattray White decided to live to fight another day.
Well, there was some flash in there. Wasn't happy with that one.
Yeah, a bit cheeky from Van Dell moving across down the
Oh,
street.
Cooper just hit the wall. Cooper, out of the first chicane, just hit the wall on the right-hand side. It was a square blow on both sets of tyres, so it was pretty even. May have gotten away from it without any more damage, but he's struggling in that dirty air. I reckon Dench is actually the best of these three cars right now.
Yeah, it was just wide of the apex. He hit the apex, but he wanted to be two tyres on the grass really through there, and it wouldn't turn for him. The track falls away from you as you head through the downhill chicane, so if you do miss the apex, it's exaggerated that much that you will find the fence 9 times out of 10, as Cooper did, and perfectly demonstrated for us. He's kept it going though. Car still looks to be alright.
Still holding about that 5 tenths lead too, Lachlan Capel, so these boys are still quite close to each other. They haven't pulled away from each other. Are we waiting for someone to wait till the last 5 minutes to maybe make a move? Just Matty Dench sitting there. Oh, is he ultimately just trying to keep up behind Cooper, and who is trying to stay with Lachlan Capel, because they're all driving very well. There was only a little mistake. We saw Fernando Alonso do it, so anything can happen.
So I think Benz has just had an incident with actually Damon Woods. I think they've made contact.
Yeah, I heard that as well, trying to pick it up. Oh, Blackburn got to slow down because Woods just fired past him, so did Bence. Oh, interesting. Woods threw a massive bomb on Blackburn into the last chicane. Forced him off the road. About 5 days and $10 short on that one from Woodsy. And this is into the hairpin. Did the same thing to Bent. So 2 cars and 2 corners. Doesn't matter how quick you are. You've got to get over that before you reach the turn-in point for the corner. And he hasn't done it on either occasion there.
I think we're just seeing him drive with it with a lot of. He's thrown caution to win. He's going for it now. There's absolutely no holding back. And I mean, difference between. Whoa!
I mean, that's just, it's frustration, but it's also silly. He's going to cost himself so many points if he gets into an incident doing that.
Something else has happened to Bence there as well. He was dropping a spot, so I want to cut across another one of the chicanes. I reckon if Dench can get by, he can have a crack at Capel. But I think Cooper's tyres are gone as well. I think he's burned them off in the dirty air.
But right now, how much is Dench kicking himself? He had the lead of the race. He'd got there, and he put it in the fence. cost himself 2 vital positions on a track where overtaking is so tricky.
Not just tricky, I mean, the walls are so close. I mean, if there's a track you don't want to make that mistake at, it's a street circuit. Yeah, look, this is probably on the lenient side in terms of street circuits. The wall's not necessarily quite as close. So if there's one spot on the track you don't want to be 10 centimeters offline, it's this track, and he was 10 centimeters offline at the exact wrong moment.
A street circuit hybrid.
Yeah, I agree.
This place and Albert Park, very similar in that sense.
I mean, they have their elements, don't they? There's this next chicane. Sorry, not this one that we're currently entering from Thomas Hinz's point of view. What a night for Hinzy as well. I think he's on his way to that best and fairest at the moment, because it's been an awesome drive from him. Let alone it's been a clean drive as well. It's been preservation for a large part of it, yet it's been defense, stout defense as well. So it's been a good drive from him. But it's this chicane right here. This is where the problems start, and then for the rest of the lap, the walls are right there. Right there.
Yeah, Inzy's come up 7 spots in this race. Jordan Paget's been another one outstanding. Looks like he's had the pace, but hasn't done anything silly trying to make overtakes. Pursuit Sim Racing going for a bump draft effect down towards the hairpin, trying to speed themselves up, pull away from Damon Woods behind. Now, Woods might be close enough for a dive in his eyes here, based on what he saw a couple laps ago.
I think Cooper's just got a... Cooper, I think, should have just earned himself a slowdown penalty. Big jump across the final chicane. Got away with it. Managed to get away with it. But his final chicane right there under the World Champions. The right-hand side of the track. Lot of curb. Here comes Dench.
No, I think he's got away with it.
It was the first curb on that one. It was the first curbing. The car flew through that chicane.
Woods has got to the back of those Pursuit Sim Racing cars. Almost lost a spot, actually, to Rattray White. Got it wrong into turn 2.
Lachlan Capel's doing a great job under pressure here, keeping that gap to the 5-7 tenths per second. Cooper and Matty Dench don't really seem to have much for him at the moment. The 3 of them seem to only be in that position by whoever's made a mistake.
How's this? Paget still can't find a way by Sebastian Flock. He's been cooped up behind him for most of this race. Finally, he's got overlap into a very tricky spot to overtake. And he gets it done. Finally, Paget goes through on the Evolution Racing Team car, but he hasn't got a great exit. And Flock might take this one right back. BMW putting up a fight against Paget's Porsche. Paget moves to the inside line for the hairpin. If he's smart, he'll just balk the apex here. Don't let Flock turn it back in. That's exactly what he does. Paget finally gets through. Patience wins out. Woods rounding outside of Vondel.
Oh. And slotted in. And slotted in. Puts the aggression down. Forced the hole there. Oh, Cooper's got a slowdown. Cooper did get that slowdown penalty now. So Dench is through.
And the fight is going to be on here. Dench, we kept saying he's got the pace. If he can get by Cooper, well, he has. The mistake. Drops Cooper back to 3rd, and now with 3 minutes on the clock, Dench has got a little window to get to Capel.
And Bence, Jason Bence as well, on the Damon Woods story, just been called into race control to have a look at that incident where the overtake with Bence. So Woods has now got another question mark hanging over him.
He should have 2 question marks as well. But that and with Blackburn as well. I think he might get away with the first one. I think the one with the Blackburn will earn him a penalty though. It'll be more valuable points down the drain. He's clawed his way back into 8th though, so he has done a decent job coming through the field. But in terms of pace, he came out 17 seconds behind Capel. He's only 14.8 behind now. In that dirty air and with all the overtakes he's having to do, just way too much to do in this race with a green flag pit stop. There is...
There'll be one more lap, Ryan. There's only going to be one more after this one. There's not enough time for 2. And he's coming. Dench is definitely quicker, but I don't think it's going to be... I think he's going to run out of time.
Well, don't speak too soon. But the problem with Montreal, the final corner is arguably the toughest one on the circuit. And if you're under pressure, so easy to get wrong. So we begin the final lap of the race. Capel searching for a breakthrough victory. He's 2nd in the championship, but he's got there by consistency. Tonight, he's got a chance to win for the first time in the Speedcafe eSeries Championship this season. The gap, half a second. Back to the fastest driver left at the front of this race, Matthew Dench. but dirty air. It's the big talking point. And Capel's doing enough to hold Dench at bay. For now.
Well, he was deep into turn one. Very, very deep from Capel into turn one. I think he's offline. I think he's a little bit perturbed. And it's those micro mistakes from Dench. Dench got a huge wiggle on there.
Well, his line was good, and then mid-corner, the car just started wandering towards the wall on the outside. That dirty air murdering his run onto that little straight. Now, this is the last big opportunity. What's the exit for Dench? He did a great job through there. Does he dare have a dive? He's 2 car lengths back. Is he brave enough? Is he bold enough? Is he too far back? He is. Capel just needs to get the exit. And he gets the power down nicely. He should be home. Dench,
one more lap. One more lap from Dench. He's definitely quicker. He's got the pace. That hairpin was the opportunity. He's out of time. He's out of time here.
He's flashing the lights. He's trying to force Capel into a mistake. A maiden victory. He's just 2 corners away for the Evolution Racing team driver. Over one curb, over the second, away from the wall of champions. Capel's gonna do it for the first time this season. Lachlan Capel wins of the Speedcafe eSeries Championship.
What a race. What a race. That had a lot. That race had an immense amount into it. And turn one is still gluing on because in the background it was all kicking off. Hins has dropped to 5th out of all that, don't you know?
Block got through on the final lap. Vondel with damage coming to the line or a slowdown.
Slowdown penalty. Slowdown penalty for sure.
Oh, it all kicked off at the hairpin around David Woods on the final lap. If we can grab a replay of that.
And actually, if we go back to about 6, 7 is where it all started.
Oh, yeah. Boy, that entire last half a lap for Bowden, Hins, Flock, and... Well, let's just take a look here. See if you bought a replay. I'll double down even further. It started at turn 3. Jordan Paget was looking at the back of Thomas Hins at turn number 4 through turn 5, got to the outside for that long sweeping right-hander, and then they touched through turn 7. It slowed them both down. Flock nabbed both of them. They ran side by side through the chicane 2 by 2. And then they all made contact down at the hairpin, as you can see there on the replay. And at the end of it all, Flock gets across the line in 4th, Hinsey 5th, Woods recovers to 6th, and Jordan Paget unlucky to come home in 10th.
Oh, so here it is.
Just watch this.
Jordan was on Hins and Hins got him back.
Yeah, so Hins made contact with Paget through that corner. That's why Paget dropped. Hins lost momentum. Flock goes through. Watch this, 2 by 2. They make it out the other side. And then there's a big concertina down at the hairpin here, Scott. As Woods reaches up on the back of Bowden. And they just career into the back of poor old Paget, who gets done twice in the space of 4 quarters.
Oh! Half a gap to the inside, half a gap to the outside, and the row behind just, they took both of them. My word, that was a spicy fun lap. We were looking in the wrong direction that whole time.
Up until that point, Thomas Hins had 0 incident points, so I don't know if he picked any up.
Oh,
That's
for
the
sure.
final lap commitment there from Capel.
4.
So, looking at our results then from a wild race for round 7 of the championship. Capel gets it done by half a second over Matthew Dench. Aaron Cooper comes home in 3rd in the end with his late slowdown penalty. The monumental battle for 4th, won out by Sebastian Flock in P4, Thomas Hins P5, Woods, Bowden, Carmichael, Racho Wright, Jordan Paget round out your top 10, Vondel, Bartholomew, Tyler Blackburn was in the wars. Brendan O'Loughlin recovered to 14th. Remember, gained 6 spots early on, fell back, he came back up in the end, finished 14th, plus 6. McKnight in 15th after that contact for the safety car. Chris Barnes, Shane Newlands, Amar Sharma. Your top 18 at Ressier Field was Andrew Deschott, Marlon McMullen, Jason Benson, Adam Willison. Unlucky again, comes home in 22nd place. But we've got some drivers up here in the booth who put on an absolute show for us tonight. Let's start it off with our race winner Lachlan Capel, congratulations. You got the job done. That's your first victory of the season, and what a way to do it.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy. I mean, look, first of all, just before anything starts, I want to give a huge shout out to Race Control for being able to fix the issue that happened in the pits with the whole black flag situation. They were mega in that, being able to understand, and yeah, it's really thankful that they were able to manage that just due to the passing under safety car when it wouldn't have happened if it was a manual. So, yeah, first of all to that, but yeah, it was one hell of a race, and that pitting, as I knew pitting under safety car would work well, and yeah, it was just kind of managing to save fuel behind Bowden, and then just trying to hold off against Aaron and Matthew.
Talk us through that battle on the restart. You were stuck behind Barnes, couldn't find a way through. Dench was all over you, and then you got through. There was contact. Dench went through. He made a mistake. You got back through. It would have felt like the race was coming and going very quickly in that little portion.
Yeah, it definitely was. I was trying to just save that extra couple mil of fuel, because I think I was 0.00 at the restart on my fuel calc, so I was just trying to get that extra little fuel save behind Rob Bowden, and yeah, I tried to do a switchback on him, or like a go really wide to come in tight, and yeah, Dench mistook that and sort of hit me up the arse a little bit, but it was no harm, no foul. We raced to the end, then he made the mistake, and then yeah, it was really, really close racing, some of the closest racing I've ever actually had in the series.
Now, Scott's been very vocal about your tyre wear, Lachlan, and he's been saying you're terrible on your tyre life, you're great on the short run, you're awful on a long run. Care to respond to that? How are your tyres tonight?
Take tyres. Be like me. Take tyres. That is the answer.
Worked well for you?
That might
Yes.
explain some of the pace as well, because I think you looked a little uncertain after that restart as well. The tyres looked like they weren't potentially up to temperature. I was nearly going to say something. I thought, nah, he's just struggling, but no, he settled onto it well. All that NASCAR experience coming to play, eh?
Yeah, look, I haven't had the very greatest of times in the last race, especially with my tyre wear, but we've managed to fix that by knowing that you got to take it on the stop. So move on with life, and continue the next 3 rounds and try and keep getting enough points to try and stay in that championship group.
Yeah, well, you've done a great job. You've gained some points on Dench in the championship hunt tonight, and Woodsy didn't have a great night at the circus with that green flag pit stop. But for yourself, the move to Evolution Racing Team paying off for you. Who do you want to thank for getting it done?
Yeah, but huge shout out to ERT and everything they've done, especially Seb for jumping on with me tonight and sort of coaxing through with one of my old team bosses, Tom Wilkinson, in his stream chatting along with him as well as me throughout the race. Big shout out to those guys, and a big shout out to you guys for putting the whole thing on. I'm sure it'll be a great thing to watch, and all the views and exposure that this series gets is really great, to focusing on the sort of eSeries side of racing. And also, again, a big shout out to Race Control for dealing with that little pit mistake thing, but I'm so glad they were able to rectify it, and I was able to pounce back from it and get this result tonight.
Well, congratulations once again, Lachlan. A very well-earned victory for you tonight. And Scotty Rankin, I believe you've got Matthew Dench standing by with you.
Denchy, usual night at the office for you, all but there was one moment there where you came a cropper with the Wall of Champions, brother.
Yeah, got a little bit excited. We got a couple of freebies to get to the front there, and yeah, just come a little bit hot and bad bounce off the curb and too much throttle. We just sort of slapped the wall, but yeah, the car was still driving straight, so it's all fun and game.
I normally say it's all fun and games until someone gets hurt. Sim racing, there is no one that gets hurt. The fans all get the piece of the action, man. I mean, it's just been consistency from you. That's we've only seen, I think, 1 or 2 errors all season long. We look through the data, only drive with a top 5 in every race so far. Capel's 1 behind you. Could that be the difference when we come down a couple weeks from now to the championship finale?
Yeah, quite possibly. We've really got to try and find some time to drive this car. This is the second time I've been in it. First time was 2 weeks ago at Barcelona. It felt pretty nice there, and yeah, we jumped in it tonight. The car felt horrible around here, so yeah, we just sort of tried to drive a little bit, not too close to the limit, just so we can keep it off the walls as much as possible. And yeah, we brought it home in a podium, so pretty happy with that.
Couple weeks to go now. Next time out, we're going to be looking at the Red Bull Ring. So obviously, high horsepower is the big thing here. The factor for the Porsches, that traction, that mid corner sort of zone. Wings are going to be, I think, trimmed out just about as much as physically possible. Thoughts on heading to Austria for the next round?
I mean, Red Bull Ring, I usually like to run like a really high wing and just have a really good last sector. Like if you can keep up with people in the draft in the first two sectors, then you can definitely make a move even around the outside in those final sectors. So.
And mate, your opportunity to thank the sponsors that are possible for Team PGZ. Have there been any recruited since the last race, mate?
Honestly, I don't know. I've been too busy with work, so I don't really pay much attention to the sim stuff at the moment. So,
well, congratulations on another second place finish, Pete Davison. I think you got Aaron Cooper on standby over there, brother.
I do, Aaron. Congratulations. Welcome to the podium. Your first podium in the Speedcafe eSeries.
Thanks, mate. That was probably the race of my season, that.
And it was a cracker. You started, well, you know, I'm not trying to downplay how well you guys in the top three were driving then, but mate, up one position, you started in 4, you finished in 3. Tell us about those last 10, 15 laps. They were pretty exciting from where we were sitting.
Yeah, that was really exciting, that. It was very hard to pass though, so that was just going to be an all or nothing if you really went for it. That with Denchi behind me and Lachlan in front, that was good fun for, was it 15 laps?
Yeah, well, we see there was a little mistake, 12-13 there, not a big one, but you let Matty past you. Matthew also had one at the same spot, which really, for the three of you guys, Lockie just didn't make a mistake going in, and that's sort of what maybe cost you first place.
Oh, unfortunately, I got a slowdown there. So I had a 3-second slowdown, which ruined my race.
Did you take tyres in your pit stop?
No tyres, no.
How was the car?
The tyres were overheating a bit, so the back end started sliding. I was pushing it to sort of be in behind Lockie there and try and get a mistake from him, so the car was starting to slide.
Yeah, nice.
The tyre wear was actually pretty good.
Yeah, good. No, well, you're all mate. There was half a second between you all for that last stint then. Did you get impacted much by the safety car? Huge accident there.
Because I was up in 3rd place there at the time, so us top three had sort of built a tiny little gap there, and we were comfortable at the front, and that safety car with Damon not pitting worked perfectly for the rest of it.
Yeah, no, well, once it sorted itself out, we had Chris Barnes up in front for a while. There was a little bit of a freight train happening there as Damon ran off to try and get himself some time to be able to make that pit stop. But mate, great drive at the end. From where we were sitting, it was very exciting. Watch the three of you battle it out. It was unfortunate, just a very minor mistake. Tough track, very hard through that 12-13 complex.
Yeah, as soon as you pick up that little slowdown, it just absolutely kills you. But yeah, P3, I'm happy with that.
Yeah, well done. And who would you like to thank? HTS Racing? Mate, I don't know much about them.
Yeah, thanks to the guys at HTS and the sponsors that they've got there. At the moment, I've been the one to stick around. Everyone else has dropped out. Good to get the team name up there.
Mate, well, look at that. The rewards always pay for those that stick around, and tonight we're 3rd place. That's a great reward, mate. You better get the boys back in 2 weeks' time for Red Bull Ring.
Yeah, hopefully they'll be around and want to jump in.
Yeah,
thanks
nice.
for everyone putting on the broadcast and the series.
Mate, anyone you'd like to thank?
No, not particularly. Like I said, thanks to the guys that put on this series.
Well done, mate. Congratulations. Great drive.
Thanks, mate.
Well, there's your top 3 from round 7 an incredible round 7, Scott, Peter. Action from start to finish, and the unbeatable that we thought, Damon Woods, was beaten by Lachlan Capel. Fantastic pit strategy and incredible defensive charming from there. But none of this action possible, of course, without any of our sponsors at Truck Assist, Morris Finance, Pertec, RJ Batteries, at Mobile One, Michelin, Tire Plus, Super Cheap Auto, King Chrome, KTM, Maguire's, Optus, and Lloyd's Classic Car Auctions. Next round, we're going to Austria. It's the Red Bull Ring, my favourite track on the service, and I'm disappointed to not be there for that one. Pre-qualifying from the 30th of June to the 5th of July. Head on over to speedcafe.com/eSeries to register, get involved. We've still got 3 rounds left on the championship. It's Watkins Glen and Spa rounding out the season after that. Peter,
I think
Scott,
before
last
we go,
thoughts?
boys,
Yeah.
we've actually got a best and fairest to pick here, I think.
We do.
I've actually just had a quick look through the post-race screen. Driver with 0 incident points, sitting in 4th place, was actually Seb Flock, was the first driver with 0 incident points. Ran a tidy, quiet race, pretty clean, did give and take when opportunities required it, and I mean a 4th place at the end, all with that last battle duel. Are we happy with that?
I would go with Hinty.
You would go with him?
Peter.
Yeah.
Peter, deciding vote. Unless you pick a third different person.
Look, I'm going to have to go. They were 4th and 5th position, those two that we spoke about. We're going to have to go Thomas Hinz. He made more spots, drove very cleanly, and only had an incident in that last lap when we had a bunch of cars get together on the last lap. But that we also saw Jordan off at the hairpin in that same group of corners where we saw the circuit. So, mate, I think Sebastian Flock did a great job. Did a great job. But Thomas Hinz, for me, he was in the well, they were the first of the non-Porsche runners, both of them. BMW for Sebastian, Mercedes for Thomas. But yeah, look, Thomas, he was pretty fair all night. He had a bit of battling around. He made a lot of spots without any incidents. Thomas Hinz for me.
Alrighty, well, Thomas Hinz up 6-7 spots, gets pick of the day, best and fairest, and a pair of free racewear sim racing gloves coming his way. That wraps us up for tonight. Been an absolute pleasure once again on Speed Cafe TV. Round 7 of the Speed Cafe eSeries Championship draws to a close. Next up, we'll see you in 2 weeks' time at the Red Bull Ring. But for tonight, from myself, Ryan Jones, Scott Rankin alongside me, along with Peter Davison and Luke behind the scenes, cutting the cameras, everything else you see on screen. Thank you all for joining us. We'll see you next time.